Hi, my name is Sirte Pihlaja. I'm the CEO of Sirte and the head of team of CXPA Finland network. And I'm joined today by Joe Pine, author, management advisor, and speaker from Strategic Horizons. It's a great pleasure and honor to have you with us with the global CX professionals community today. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks, Sirte. I really appreciate being here.
Our theme today is creativity and becoming your best self in the experience economy. Since you have coined the term experience economy, how would you define it, and where does the idea behind it has come and has its roots? Did you have a sort of a eureka moment at some point in time?
Yes, yes, that was exactly what happened. It was almost 28 years ago. And it came out of my work on mass customization, which was actually the title of my first book, which is about efficiently serving customers uniquely. I know you're a Lego serious play enthusiast, and I always have these with me. Lego building bricks. So it explains mass customization. It's modularity. You just have different bricks of different sizes, different shapes, different colors, and you link them together in a way that allows you to create unique offerings for every customer, but do it efficiently, right? That's the secret to mass customization. And I'd often said that mass customization automatically turns a good into a service, that goods are standardized, but services are customized, done just for a particular person. Goods are inventoried after production, but services are delivered on demand when the customer says this is what they want. And goods are tangible, of course, and services intangible, but an integrated part of mass customization is the intangible service of helping somebody figure out what it is that they want, right? Then you make it, then you deliver it to them individually. And I'd said this in one event that I was doing, and one of the guys in the back of the room, sort of a smart aleck, he raises his hand and he says, well, you talked about service companies that mass customize. What does it turn a service into? And I shot back that mass customization automatically turns a service into an experience. And I went, whoa, that sounds good. You know, it just came out. And I realized it was true that has, you design a service that's so appropriate for a particular person, exactly the service that they need at this moment in time. You can't help but make them go, wow, and turn it into a memorable event, turn it into an experience. Therefore, experiences would be a distinct economic offering, as distinct from services as services are from goods and goods are from commodities. And that means you'd have an economy based off of experiences. And just as we had an agrarian economy based off commodities, an industrial economy based off goods, and a service economy, right? So now we're in an experience economy. So definitionally, what that means is that experiences have become the predominant economic offering, the one that consumers, as well as increasingly business people, employees, and any human, because it's all about the human experience, one that they increasingly seek and prefer over goods and services. In fact, people want goods and services to be commoditized, to be bought at the greatest possible convenience and the cheapest possible price in order to spend their hard-earned money and their hard-earned time on the experiences that they value.
You've recently released your book, The Experience Economy, co-written with James Gilmore. What has changed in your thinking since the writing of the original book, and what are the major updates? And if you can say, maybe looking back, have things developed as you expected them to?
Right. Well, in one sense, there's been no change in thinking. That is, every framework that we had, every principle, every idea we had in the first book that came out in 1999 is still applicable today. But in this third edition of the book, we do recognize that much has changed. Particularly, you see the rise of digital technology that both has a commoditizing effect, because you have access to all the information out there, and it tends to push people down to the lowest possible price because they can buy it from anywhere. It also has a great effect in customization, because anything you can digitize, you can customize. The only more powerful form of modularity than Lego building bricks, which is known as sectional modularity, is digital modularity. Because once it enters the realms of zeros and ones, you can instantaneously change a 0 to a 1 and vice versa. And then, of course, digital technology enables the creation of entirely new and wondrous experiences that we never could before. with the rise of augmented reality and alternate reality and virtual reality and all of these different things. So obviously that's the big number one thing that has changed. Also, in fact, I wrote a book on digital called Infinite Possibility, creating customer value on the digital frontier, to make a point about this is how you can use digital technology to create new and wondrous experiences. And then also what we realized after the experience economy came out is that authenticity really came to the fore as a what we call a new consumer sensibility. You know, the primary buying criterion by which people choose to buy from and what they buy, you know, is based on authenticity. Because in a world of paid for experiences, people naturally question, well, what is real and what is not? And increasingly, they don't want the fake from the phony; they want the real from the genuine. And of course, we've had all sorts of new experiences, you know, escape rooms that you can't go to any medium-sized, even small-sized city without encountering an escape room. They didn't exist when we first wrote the book. And there's totally new genres of experiences, immersive art and so on. And then finally, I'll mention that something we did talk about in the original, but now we see increasingly to the fore, is actually that fifth economic offering. That when you customize an experience, you turn it into a life-transforming experience, an experience that changes us in some way, and we call that a transformation. And a transformation is the fifth and final economic offering in this progression of economic value. We're using the experience as the raw material to guide people to change. And in fact, just finished editing this week an article for the Harvard Business Review that will be out in January on transformations, on competing on transformation. So it's something that people need to pay attention to as well, much more so than they did, you know, 22 years ago.
This is a quote from you: "If there's no charge for time, people will assume that such offerings are not worth experiencing." You talk a lot about nowadays about time saved and time well spent and time well invested. Would you share with us some of your thinking behind these concepts?
Yeah, so in fact, just this month came out with the article on that full model in Do Corporations Dialogue. You can look it up online. It's called Competing on Time. And so it's basically a new model that sort of overlays this progression of economic value, a time progression that says that first understand that the most precious resource on the entire planet is the time of individual human beings. And the worst thing you can do is waste their time, right? Do things that waste that time. And it's a crime, literally crime against humanity to do that, but companies do it all the time. So you need to first get to the level of not wasting their time, and then you need to provide that time well saved. And that's what services do. Services are time well saved. You do things better than I can. You do them more quickly than I can, whether it's changing the oil in my car, whether it's cleaning my clothes, or it's making my meal, whatever it might be. And so time well saved is that level of services. And time well saved also is what most CX actually focuses on. It's not creating an engaging experience. It's not wowing people. It's about being nice and easy and convenient and frictionless, right? Frictionless is the big term today. Frictionless is time well saved. With experiences, it's about time well spent. That people actually value the time that they spend with you, and that's completely different than thinking in terms of normal CX. It's experiences as a distinct economic offering. And as you said, you know, charging for time is important. Well, as you quoted me saying, charging for time is incredibly important because you are what you charge for. You know, as a business, you fundamentally are what you charge for. And if you're in the commodities business, you know, it's because you charge for stuff. If you charge for tangible things, you're in the goods business. If you charge for the activities your people perform, you're in the services business. But with experiences, you have to charge for time. The time customers spend with you. It means an admission fee or a membership fee, an initiation fee, a per play fee, like with a slot machine, and so on and so forth. We identify 6 different ways that you can charge for time. And that economically puts you in the experience business. You know, a lot of companies give away the experience, like cafes, you know, Starbucks, you know, they're such a success because they create a coffee drinking experience, but they don't charge for it. But there are now many cafes around the world that in fact do, that subsume the coffee into the price per minute that you're paying for the place. And just to complete it with transformations, what you want to charge for is the demonstrated outcomes that your customers achieve, because that's all that matters. All the other stuff you do doesn't matter unless they achieve their aspiration, unless they get their outcome. So you need as a company, if you're in the transformation business, to make your income dependent on your customers' outcomes.
Mm. In the same article, you say that all current and potential experience stages should examine their offering by the resulting money value time, or MVT,
Yes.
on a scale of expenditure per minute. What are some of the baseline figures that how much an experience is worth?
I'm glad you read the article, right? MVT is also in the new preview to the book. You can get it there as well. But the money value of time recognizes that time is money, but money is time as well. And so the baselines, I'll use US figures, then you can translate. But you think about if you go to a movie, it's generally about 2 hours, 120 minutes. It costs on average in the US around $12. It can be a lot more in some places and a lot less at others, but around $12. So that works out conveniently to 10 cents per minute. And that's a good experience. If you can rise to the level of a movie, it's a good experience. Starbucks, if you go to a Starbucks and spend $5 for a drink and spend a half hour to an hour, guess what? You're spending 5 to 10 cents per minute, right? That's what you're getting for that. Now, but think about going to a Disney theme park. Right now, you're spending a lot more time, you're spending a lot more money, and you end up with around 20 cents per minute, right? You go to a Disney theme park, you take out a couple of dimes, you can just throw them away every minute. But that's what it's worth. People find it worth that. But then you talk about escape rooms and immersive art experience and these other things, and you're talking 40 to 50 cents per minute, right? They get so much more because of the intensity of the engagement that they have. And it shows that in fact, the sky is the limit. And in fact, I sort of mean that literally, because if you look at what Richard Branson is planning on charging $200,000 for an 8-minute visit to space, guess what? That's $2,000 per minute.
Yeah.
Right. So the sky is the limit in terms of what is possible out there.
Definitely. But it also shows how much people are willing to pay at the same time, because you have this Meow experience where Meow Wolf, where they have already sold a crazy amount of tickets for their new experience, and people are kind of queuing for it and fighting for their space to get there.
And that's a wonderful word too, is a queue. Anytime you have a queue is a recognition that either admission fee is being charged or it should be charged, right? That's a good signal. And we can still remember the original Nike Town, right? The original Nike Town in Chicago back in the late 1990s had a queue outside. So many people wanted to get in. So we thought we'd pay an admission when we got there, and there wasn't one. Well, guess what? Because they didn't charge admission, the actual experience in Nike Town devolved over time. You lost the basketball court, you lost all these other experiences that they had, and it just became high-end merchandising, right? And that's all it is today, right? It's just high, except for a few flagship stores they have.
They did really just really open up their flagship stores in China, in Guangzhou, and there was a more recent one in Seoul, I guess. That was Korean then, but yeah. So I guess they are retrying this same method of getting people in.
They need to refresh that experience and make it worth an admission fee again.
And it's the same for many businesses that are, especially in retail, that they need to get people back to their shops and stores. So it's a real fight out there with the pandemic on, I guess.
Yeah, retailers need to give shoppers a reason to come into the store, because the last year and a half we've trained them, you don't have to. People know it, but not every people did it, and people who did it are now doing it for everything. And you don't have to go into the store. You've got to give them a reason, and it's got to be a reason beyond the merchandising, which they're still going to be able to get cheaper or at the same price and delivered to their house with beautiful time well saved, right? Again, great service. But if you want them to come in, that reason has to be an experience that gives them time well spent.
It's interesting that convenience store comes from convenient, and I think it's so much more convenient nowadays to just order it and have it
exactly
delivered.
It's more convenient to not go in the convenience store. I like that. I'm going to use that, Sirte. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. You can quote me on that. I believe if we move on to the topic of creativity, I believe that we need more creativity in business to create better people experiences and to thrive in this state of an ever-growing competition about customers and highly skilled workforce. I'm a big proponent also of play in unlocking creativity. and people's hidden potential or resources that they have. I'm always talking in my keynotes about this, how we have this 5-year-old creative genius within ourselves. We just need to let him or her come out and get to the flow state of things. And I think that really using play for that is a good methodology. And that's why I bring my Lego bricks with me when I go on assignments with clients. How do you feel about the need for more creativity at work? Should organizations in your mind bring more creativity and playfulness into their businesses?
Well, that's a question that answers itself, right? Just asking the question says, you have to have more creativity and playfulness, because basically innovation, only comes from creativity. And I mean, it often comes from very hard work, as you've got an idea and then you've got to figure out how to make that happen, and scientists create things with a lot of diligence and a lot of math and physics and chemistry and all that, but it comes from that spark of creativity, to know what to look for, to know how to go about doing it. And innovation is a lifeblood of business, is that if you do not innovate, you will be commoditized. And so the only way to differentiate yourself, to decommoditize, is through creativity. And the key things, though, is that most creativity has been applied in the past at the goods and less so at the services level. But we need to think about creativity to innovate in new and wondrous experiences, as well as in transformations, right? Including things like Meow Wolf, these immersive art experience and escape rooms. What is the next big genre of experience that is going to come across the land and be in every country, within 2 or 3 years? I don't know what that is, but that's only going to come from creativity.
That's for certain. You're also involved with the College of Extraordinary Experiences and the World Experience Organization. The college is, for those of you who are listening or watching us and don't know what it is, it's almost like a Hogwarts to experience designers, I would say, in a word. What are the things businesses could learn from this, the way these kinds of organizations and people who are part of them think about how to design incredible experiences for other humans? If every business is a stage, as you say, how can organizations create more immersive experiences, and why should they?
Well, first of all, is to learn from others, is to like the College of Extraordinary Experiences, this amazing experience where you take on roles, and what you want to do is not what most companies do, which is practice best practices. Best practices are, let's go copy somebody else. Like, they do this well, let's go take that, copy it, put it in our business. Well, that's not innovative. That's not creativity. That's not going to get you any advance. Instead, what you need to do is look at best principles. Look at these examples, like the College of Extraordinary Experience, understand the principles that they are applying to their business and their circumstances, and then extract out that principle and apply it to your business in your circumstances. Then you can come up with new and wondrous things. And the College of Extraordinary Experiences in particular, they put you in new roles they are a stage, right? And you become actors that are creating the experience for everybody else, and everybody else there is actors that are creating an experience for you. And so taking on these new roles, getting outside of your normal way of thinking, can spark creativity as well. And then fundamentally, one of the things to be creative about is to recognize that every business is a stage, right? That's the original subtitle to the Experience Economy. The original edition that came out in 1999 was "Every Business is Stage," or "Work is Theater," excuse me, and every business is stage. And so work is theater. It's not a metaphor. I mean, work as theater, being theatrical. I literally mean, when you're in front of customers, you're on stage, right? Work is theater. And so you need to innovate in ways of creating that theater. And one is to understand another basic distinction between services and experiences, like time well saved and time well spent, is what versus how, right? What versus how. So what is the functional activities that you have to do, but how you go about doing those can turn any mundane interaction into an engaging encounter. So innovate, it's small innovation, right? It's not a new offering, but innovate in these ways that allow your workers to perform on your business stage by directing them to act, giving them roles to play, help them characterize those roles, and then they can perform it on your business stage.
I really like the idea about the business being a stage. I think Walt Disney was doing that very much already.
Yes.
When he founded his amusement parks, and they were all
Right.
in character when they are on stage. And I visited there with the Disney Institute a couple of years back, and that was really the main thing that they were talking about the whole time. What would you say is the most creative organizations at the moment, and why? What's the best experience you've encountered or heard of lately? Come on, amaze us.
Amaze us, right? So I'll tell you one that is amazing. It's in the cruise line industry. So because of COVID, right, they've been dead in the water, if you pardon the expression, for the last 18 months. But it's an amazing experience with even more to come. And that's Carnival Corporation, where John Pageant, a friend of mine I worked with at Walt Disney World many years ago, left there after he helped develop the Magic Band, right? He was a key instigator in that $1 billion investment, and I think invested another $1 billion at Carnival, where he became the Chief Experience and Innovation Officer, right? So note that combination. There's a lot of CXOs, Chief Experience Officers, but he's a Chief Experience and Innovation Officer because that's where they innovate. They're in the experience business. To innovate in those. And so what he did is he developed this Ocean Medallion, which is an IoT device, right? Just this size, about the size of a big Euro. And here, every guest gets the IoT device. And so even before they ever get on, they start to know their preferences about what they want to experience. They develop an itinerary for them for their cruise time. And then when they first get to the cruise, they no longer have to stop 2 or 3 times and show their passport to different people. They simply walk in the beautiful redesigned building that they did as a pre-show for the cruise experience. And they walk at a normal place up there. When they get to the ship, under the gangplank, every employee has a tablet where when your IoT device gets near them, your Ocean Medallion, up pops your name and your picture and the fact that your passport is good. And then they greet you by name and welcome you on the ship, right? The device gets tracked as you go towards your stateroom. When you get to your stateroom and touch the handle, it closes the electric circuit, unlocks it, opens, and greets you digitally by name. And then they know all of your preferences. They start to understand what it is you like. They call it the guest genome, right? They want to understand that guest genome, and they will track, like, for example, the time well spent. Again, if you spend more time in a particular experience, chances are you like that experience more. If you spend less time, chances are you don't like it as well as average. So they begin to recommend and give personal experience invitations based on that. And you end up with what I call a mass customized itinerary of your exact stay, where you can look at a high level of your entire stay or the day. You can then drill down deep into what you're doing at all points. And that's really an innovation that companies need to pay attention to, is to give people a mass customized itinerary. Particularly experience platforms is what this really is. Like Airbnb is an experience platform. You can go book a house and then you can book all these local experiences you have, but they don't give you that itinerary. You're left to yourself to track them, and they don't learn enough about you to be able to make recommendations on what you should do. Here, every time you go on a cruise, right, it gets even better the second, the third time, and so forth. They can even remember things like when you're on the pool deck with your kids, your favorite drink is an iced tea with no lemon. When you're in the bar with your buddies, it's a mojito. And when you're in a restaurant with your spouse, it's a glass of Shiraz, right? They understand the digital context of what I am doing right now and where I am and who I'm with, and then can make personal, very customized recommendations and offerings right then and right there.
Yeah, I love the fact that they are using the IoT technology as an enabler of the actual experience and kind of adding on to it. That's something that we have been actually working on with the smart office concept when we're talking about work experiences and workday experiences for people.
Right, exactly.
Which brings me to employee experiences, where I think that the future and really the now of work is changing as we speak, and the hybrid model of work is here to stay. But I see there's a clear need to really start designing employee experiences from a new perspective to take this into account. What's your take on that?
Right, absolutely, absolutely, and experiences, excuse me, experiences are for human beings, right? And that means they're not just for customers; they're for employees, they're for suppliers, they're for business to business people, they're for students, or for beneficiaries, or for everybody. It's all about that human experience. And you need to think about the employee experience to give a reason for people to want to work for you, just like retailers need to give a reason for people to come into the store. So everything that we talk about apply at that level. In fact, you look at the time model again, is stop wasting your employees' time. And you often do that with too many meetings. You do that with shared resources where people are sharing copiers and that. I mean, buy another copier if there's ever any way, because you're wasting their time, and that's huge amount of money compared to the cost of a copier. It's just one small example. You know, when you make them fill out expense reports that aren't easy to do and have to get multiple layers of approval, you're wasting their time. So first of all, stop wasting their time. Then provide time well saved. How can you save your employees time in doing these tasks so that they can be as productive as possible? Then you need to provide time well spent, right? What are the employee experiences that you need to create for them? I mean, obvious application is in learning and development, right? The educational experiences that they have. But there's so many other ways, including what's the meeting experience? What is the prototypical water cooler experience? How do you encourage innovation and creativity happen by getting people to talk to each other, which is increasingly difficult, of course, in remote or hybrid. One of the things you need to think about is in hybrid and remote experiences is what is the environment in which they're working. Now, I designed this house for my office and my conference room / cigar lounge that I have next door on the other side of that wall there. I've got all my books. I've got everything I need. I've got lighting that I put in here. And I've designed it this way so that it, you know, with a huge screen monitor and a second laptop on another screen and my bookcases if I need a third one. But we don't do that for our employees. We're sort of left to their own devices. I mean, when I go on a trip and I have to like type on a laptop, it just like drives me crazy how small the screen is with my bad eyes and how small the keyboard is and that. Give your people the tools that they need to be able to have a great experience in their work environments at home, as you do, even more so actually, because there's a potential for more distractions and whatnot. Even more so, that's important than it is in the work environment where we at least do spend time. And then finally, time well invested is you need to work on employee transformations, on their development plans, on the education that they need to become better employees, on improving their productivity, improving their creativity again is a key element of that, and help them to achieve their career aspirations, right? That's a fundamental thing, even if that means they're going someplace else, right? But then you maintain that contact with them so that they become a like, you won't believe what this company did for me, and I'm here because of what happened to this company, and get them to be a positive influence on your reputation in the world as well.
Yeah, true. So with being such a visionary person that you are, where would you want to see things change most? What's the biggest fears of businesses and organizations in general at the moment?
Well, I always say I'm not a visionary. I'm not a futurist. I don't tell you what's going to happen. I tell you what is already happening, but you don't yet see it. So I may be a little wary of what to think about on the future. But you know, the basic things is that goods and services will continue to get more and more commoditized, that more and more companies will go to experiences and transformations. The big thing that still needs to be done is more and more of the explicit charging for them. Right, you need to do that. You need to have experiences, like not necessarily an entire retail place you charge for, but places within the place, right? Activities and experiences within the place you need to get to, and to charging for outcomes for transformations. I do think more and more we're going to have it's not a matter of reality or virtuality, right? Of being in a real place, like even as employee, hybrid, right? I'm either there or I'm here. No. It's about how do we fuse those two, right? It's the fusing of reality and virtuality that I think we're going to see more and more aspects of now and into the future.
What new skills do you think that we need in order to skills?
Well, we need to be conversant in digital technology. Obviously, we need to continue to grow in terms of the skills required for creativity and interpersonal relationship. Obviously, we need acting skills. We need to learn how to act, and taking acting classes is a great thing to do. And I think that the empathy required to understand that everything you do impacts individual living, breathing human beings, and that's there's a high moral impact on that. Like banks have fiduciary responsibilities. Most companies that work with customers have a moral responsibility to do what's right for them because they're human beings. You can't treat human beings as utilitarian objects, which is Immanuel Kant, told us, many years ago. And yet, when we talk about demographics and we talk about personas and we talk about generations and segmentation, that's all you're doing. You're treating them like they're widgets or utilitarian objects. We instead need to treat them as the individual living, breathing human beings that they are. And one other thing I'll mention, that I do see coming more and more to the fore, again, not a thing that's going to happen in the future. It's already happening, but as William Gibson says, the future is not evenly distributed yet. And that is the rise of meaning. As authenticity is to experiences, I think meaning is to transformations. And it's one of the things that coming out of the COVID pandemic as well, is that we realize, at least in the developed world, we don't need more stuff. We got enough stuff. We got to replenish our consumables. Sure, deliver them to my home, have me contactless delivery and that. But what gives our life meaning is the experiences that we missed out on, for a year, for 18 months. And it's those experiences that again, give our lives meaning, that make life worth living. It's the experiences we have with our family, with our loved ones, with our friends, with our colleagues at work, even with the great mass of humanity and huge events and festivals and stadiums and arenas that we haven't been able to go to. That's what life is about, and that's what we need to get back to. And we need to think about how we enable our customers to have meaning in their lives through the offerings that we create for them.
Where do you see the future of the experience economy? What's coming next in that?
Well, I think it's exactly that. Is that a shift from the merely memorable, right? It's not an experience unless it's memorable, but from the merely memorable to the highly meaningful, as well as experiences that are much more transformative, that yield those transformations we talked about, experiences that are much more customized, that aren't done for the masses. Again, like a Disney World experience that's done for the masses. What I drilled into them for the workshops that I did 15 or so years ago was you need to get down to that individual living, breathing human being. And that is, again, the case for every experience stager out there.
Well, I'd say humanity definitely has had its big impact, and its role has somehow increased in the world we live in, and people are really thinking about that part of in their working lives as well. At the same time, I feel that there's so many technologies that are coming up, like AI and virtual reality and all of that. How do you see?
But we need to make those human technologies. Right?
Yeah.
We need to not use them just to replace people, just to presume what people want, but we need to use them in a way that benefits, again, the individual human being.
I was thinking, really coming back a little bit back to my question about the skills needed. So for the future of CX as a discipline in 5 to 10 years, what areas, if you mention like the top 3, do you recommend for CX professionals and companies to look into, and what's the key task of CX professionals in the future?
Well, I think the key task of CX professionals is to get their companies to understand the experiences that they provide for people. And again, employees, customers, suppliers, on and on the list that it goes. And to get beyond what CX has become over the last 15 years or so, which again is about making interactions nice, easy, and convenient, to get to those truly engaging experiences, to experiences that we recognize are inherently personal because they happen inside of us, the reaction to the events that are staged in front of us, and to get those that are not just merely frictionless time well saved, but to time well spent. Right? That's what CX professionals need to do.
Well, that's a good message to all of us in the CX community. So Joe, if people who have watched this interview have any more questions for you, how can they reach you?
Well, they can link in with me, and it's /Joe Pine on LinkedIn. They can follow me on Twitter at Joe Pine, and then they can go to our website, www.strategichorizons.com, strategichorizons with an S.com. And then we've got all of our information there, all of our books and writings. We have a contact page where if you want to subscribe to our quarterly Field Notes newsletter, you can do that there and learn about what's going on in the experience economy. And we got information on our speeches, workshops, our Experience Economy Expert Certification course, our on-stage frontline video training offering as well.
Thank you so much, Joe Pine, for taking this interview with us, and have a really, really good fall.
Thanks, Sirte. I really appreciate it. Kiitos.
Kiitos.